If someone understands you immediately, faster than anyone ever has, be careful, because they're not just seeing you. They might be learning how to control you. Elena thought it was fate. Every detail, every interest, every fear, perfectly matched. 3 weeks after they met, he told her she was the woman he'd been waiting for his entire life. She believed him. It took her 2 years and everything she'd built to understand what had actually happened. And it started with something small, almost impossible to notice. She picked up the book, the one he gave her the first week, a book about Lisbon with a handwritten note inside. She'd kept it in her nightstand for 2 years, read it when she missed him, traced the ink with her finger. That night, she read it again, and for the first time, she didn't feel chosen. She felt studied. She thought it was fate. It was research. Elena was 34 when she met Marcus at a professional conference, a secondary school teacher, measured, careful, someone who needed evidence before she trusted anyone. She wasn't looking. Marcus introduced himself during the coffee break. He wasn't loud. He wasn't performing. He asked questions and remembered the answers hours later. That evening, she mentioned she'd always wanted to visit Lisbon. 3 days later, a book arrived about Lisbon's hidden history, a handwritten note inside. Most people miss this moment because it looks like attention, like care. It is neither. It's reconnaissance. In the weeks that followed, Marcus became the dominant fact of Elena's life. Good morning texts before she woke up, good night messages after she went to sleep. When she mentioned a hard day at work, he called, not texted, called. He talked about the future, not vaguely, a neighborhood, a trip, a life. And Elena, who had always needed time before trusting, felt something she hadn't expected to feel again. She felt chosen, specifically, precisely chosen. And this is where people get trapped. Not slowly, fast, too fast. There's a name for this: love bombing. It targets the careful, the people who needed evidence before they opened up. It provides that evidence, manufactured, calibrated, to her. This isn't instinct. You can learn this in a weekend, and some people do. You've seen this before, you just didn't call it this. The most dangerous people don't look dangerous. They look exactly like what you've been waiting for. But that wasn't the worst part. The dangerous part wasn't what he did next. It was what she stopped noticing. By week 6, Marcus mentioned that her best friend Carla seemed a lot. She just talks over you, he said. Does she always do that? Elena hadn't noticed before, but now she started watching. By week 8, you deserve people who actually listen to you. He never said stop seeing Carla. He made Carla smaller, slightly wrong, slightly less, until Elena decided, on her own, that the distance was her idea. She didn't feel controlled. She felt protected by someone who finally saw what she'd been tolerating all along. Isolation isn't the goal, it's the soil. And this is the part that keeps people for years. Around month 4, the warmth began to vary. Some evenings, Marcus was entirely present, focused, attentive, the person she'd fallen for. Other evenings, a distance she couldn't name, short answers, early nights, and when she asked, "I'm fine, you worry too much." Then days later, back, warm, adoring. And the relief was the most intense thing she'd felt in months. This is where it changes, not when it's bad, when it's good again, because now you know what you're trying to get back. Intermittent reinforcement. You stop asking whether someone is good for you. You start asking when the good version is coming back. And the worst part? A part of her knew something was wrong and stayed anyway, because leaving meant admitting it was never real. She thought it was fate. That's why she didn't question it. Stop. Think of someone right now, a partner, a friend, a boss. Did they make you feel uniquely understood almost immediately, faster than understanding should allow? Hold that. You'll need it. 5 months in, Marcus said something Elena would spend years replaying. A small disagreement, something she can't even remember anymore. He looked at her, and for the first time, his face wasn't warm. Are you actually ready for something real? She apologized, even though she didn't know what she did wrong. He accepted it. The warm version returned, and Elena cried in the car on the way home, not from sadness, from gratitude that he hadn't left. I've seen this exact moment described in almost these exact words more times than I can count. It is the moment the target stops evaluating the relationship and starts working to deserve it. He didn't meet her, he studied her, and then he became exactly what she was looking for. What Marcus did wasn't random, it wasn't chemistry, it was a sequence. The book about Lisbon wasn't a coincidence. She told him what she wanted. He handed it back wrapped in care. Before she could evaluate him, she was attached. And once attached, the withdrawal began. Not enough to make her leave, enough to make her work. She thought it was fate. It was calibration. Most people who do this don't know they're doing it. That doesn't make them less dangerous. It makes them harder to leave. Elena tried to leave twice. Both times, the warm version returned within hours. Both times, she stayed. The third time was different. 2 in the morning. She couldn't sleep. She opened her nightstand, and there it was, the Lisbon book. She opened it, read the handwritten note, and this time, it didn't feel like love. It felt like something written to get a reaction, and it worked on her. She sat on the floor for 40 minutes. Then she called her sister. Her sister listened, didn't interrupt, then said, "Elena, every time you describe this man, you explain what he did, and then you explain why it was probably your fault. Every single time." Elena opened her mouth to argue, and couldn't. She started reading that night. Love bombing, intermittent reinforcement, coercive control, and with each article, 2 feelings at once, recognition and grief. She left 3 weeks later. 4 days after she moved out, a message arrived, warm, perfectly timed, perfectly calibrated. She almost answered, held her phone for 11 minutes, because a part of her still believed the warm version was real. She didn't answer. That was the first decision she made for herself in months. And even now, she still wonders if she gave up too soon. You don't miss the person who hurt you. You miss the version of them that never really existed. That wondering, that quiet, specific doubt, that is the last thing love bombing leaves behind. Not a bruise, not a scar, a question that never fully goes away. Doubt isn't proof that you were wrong. It's the last thing he put inside you. The most dangerous manipulation doesn't feel like control. It feels like care. If this feels familiar, it didn't happen by accident. Send this video to the person you were thinking about a few minutes ago. They might already know the answer. They just need the word for it. Once you see it, you stop calling it love. And that's the part no one warns you about. Not what they did to you, but how long it takes to trust yourself again. Elena's story ended, but this same pattern doesn't only work on people. It works on communities, on movements, on organizations that promise to change your life. The tactics are identical, the scale is different, and the exit is much harder.